If you hear children's laughter in the middle of the woods, do not follow it. It started as just a normal Saturday hike through the state park near my house. As I walked along the wooded trail, I took in the serene beauty around me. It was mid-morning, and the forest was alive with birdsong and the rustling of small animals. After about a mile, the trail opened into a sunny meadow. I decided to take a break there, sitting in the tall grass and sipping some water. As I rested, I closed my eyes and tuned in to the peaceful sounds of nature. That's when I first heard it. The distinct sound of children laughing. It seemed to be coming from the other side of the meadow, somewhere deep in the woods. I opened my eyes and scanned the tree line, but saw no one. The laughter persisted, light and carefree, carrying on the wind. It sounded like a group of kids delightfully playing some game together amidst the trees. I smiled reflexively at the joyful sound, but as I listened closer, the hair on my arms stood up. Something felt off about that laughter. It had an unsettling, hollow quality, like a recording instead of real kids. I shook off my unease and continued my hike, leaving the strange voices behind. Over the next few weeks, however, the laughter returned periodically as I walked the trails. It was always distant and disembodied, seeming to follow me just out of sight. No matter how quickly I whirled around or peered into the woods, I never actually saw any children. I asked other hikers if they had heard it too, but they all said no. I tried my best to shrug it off, but the sound grated on me. The initial charm had warped into something more sinister in my mind. One day I was determined to continue my hike, despite the unnerving laughter starting up once more behind me. But no matter how far I went down the trail, it wouldn't fade, just seemed to echo ethereally from all directions. Finally, I couldn't take it anymore. Without thinking, I strayed off the path, plunging into the thick forest towards the voices. They seemed to move and stay just ahead of me, as if beckoning me deeper into the woods. Thorns tore at my clothes and branches scratched my skin, but I pushed thoughtlessly through the brambles. The laughter rang out louder now, so close and yet still invisible. How much farther could they be? But suddenly, my foot snagged on a root, and I fell face first into the leaves. I lay there in silence, catching my breath. The laughter had stopped. There was no sound at all except my own staggered gasping. The quiet woke me from my frenzy. What was I doing off the trail, chasing phantom voices? This was crazy and dangerous. As I calmed down, dread sank in. I was very lost, and night would fall soon. Panicked, I scrambled to my feet and tried to orient myself towards where the trail should be. But the dense, unfamiliar trees surrounded me menacingly. I yelled out for help, but no one answered. The shadows grew longer as I stumbled around aimlessly. Suddenly I heard the laughter again, alarmingly close behind me now. I froze. Every primal instinct told me not to turn around. These were not children, and they did not intend to help me get out. I closed my eyes, took a deep breath, and ran. Thorns and branches clawed at me as I hurtled blindly through the darkening woods. The laughter turned to screeching wails of anger, pursuing me faster than should be possible. My lungs burned and my legs ached, but I did not stop. As the last rays of light faded, I burst from the tree line onto the blessedly familiar side of the trail. I ran all the way back to the parking lot and my car, screeching out of the empty lot as the manic laughter still echoed behind. I've never stepped foot in those woods again, but sometimes on quiet nights I still hear echoes of that hollow, inhuman laughter drifting on the wind, beckoning me back into the darkness from which I barely escaped. Whatever sinister forces dwell there, I know to resist their tempting call. Some mysteries are better left unexplored, no matter how alluring. I don't know what would have happened if I had found the source of that laughter, but I know in my soul it was nothing human, nor of this earth. A malignant presence haunts those woods that feed on human curiosity, and I'm grateful I still have my life and sanity intact to warn others. If you hear alluring voices in the forest, turn and run. Do not let them lead you astray, no matter how close they call. The woods belong to them, and those who follow will never find their way back home. My best friend Will disappeared last summer while hiking alone in a remote forest area. The police searched for months but found no trace of him. We all feared the worst. His family was left devastated with no answers. A year later, there was finally a development in the case. A data analyst working with the police came across a Reddit account that seemed to belong to Will based on posts about our hometown and interests he had. The last post was made on the day Will went missing. Its title chilled me to the bone. I saw something I shouldn't have in these woods. In the post, Will described deciding to go off trail and venture deep into an overgrown section of forest. He'd heard rumors from fellow hikers that there was an abandoned cabin or old mine site hidden out there. After bushwhacking for hours, he came upon a secluded valley. At the far end of the valley stood a fenced-off cluster of buildings. From a distance, Will could make out what looked like a small factory or laboratory facility, but it didn't seem operational. No people, vehicles, or activity that he could see. As he cautiously approached, Will noticed the buildings had no windows or markings of any kind. Every entrance was sealed with heavy padlocked doors. Layers of retractable barbed wire coiled above the high chain-link fences. Will snapped some photos on his phone, circled the perimeter, and then hiked back out before anyone noticed him. He knew he shouldn't have been there. The whole place had a cold, sinister vibe that gave him the chills. By the time he made it back to the trail, it was getting dark. The final sentences sent a wave of dread through me. I'm almost back to my truck now, but I just heard something moving in the trees behind me. Pretty sure someone is following. And that was it. The post ended there. No comments or activity from his account since. I immediately forwarded the link to the detectives investigating Will's case. They hauled me in for questioning the next day, trying to extract more information. But I was just as baffled as they were. What did Will stumble upon in those remote woods? Some kind of secret government base? An abandoned lab from a sinister corporation? A drug cartel's hideout? And did someone from there follow and abduct Will to keep him silent? Over the next few weeks, I became consumed with getting to the bottom of it. I knew the cops weren't taking it seriously, so I launched my own covert investigation. I studied every detail of Will's post and photos of the mysterious facility. I researched the area where he went missing, looking for clues about what may have been out there. I even secretly followed some of the police detectives to learn what info they had uncovered about Will's case. Through meticulous digital digging, I managed to geolocate the approximate position of the valley Will described. It was miles deep into the overgrown forest, miles past any official trails. Finding it on foot would have been impossible, but using satellite data, LiDAR scans, and digital terrain maps, I pinpointed what I believed was the location. It aligned perfectly with everything Will had described about the long hike in and landscape details. Tonight, under the new moon's cover of darkness, I'm finally setting out to find it myself. I need to know what's really out there. If there's any chance it could lead me to Will, I have to try. I've prepared as well as I can. Provisions, emergency gear, and cameras to document everything. I also have a gun just in case. This will likely be the most dangerous thing I've ever done. But I can't go on not knowing what happened to my best friend. I need to follow his trail to wherever it ends up, even if that means descending into darkness. I'm scared but determined. Wish me luck out there. One way or another, this twisted mystery that swallowed Will whole will be uncovered. I'll make sure of it.